Morning all, how are we? It is Monday morning. We are back. It is a new weight loss week. I was going to say it's the last week of May, but it's not, is it? That's kind of next week going into June. This year, I can't believe we're nearly 5 months through the year. But anyway, we are here. It is the second last week of May. I think I thought it was the last week of May because it's bank holiday. We've got another bank holiday weekend coming up. We'll talk about that shortly in this live. Planning for the week ahead. Anyway, yes, we'll get into that. As always, this is a weight loss line. If you've got any questions, as always, ask away. Hope you've all had a really good weekend. Made the most of the weather. It's changed a bit here today. We've got a bit of a more gloomy Lancashire than sunny Lancashire. I think we're meant to have some showers today, which is fine. We do actually, technically need. We do need a bit of rain, don't we? I suppose. But anyway, yes, we are here in old. Yes, a little bit gloomy. It's meant to be nice the rest of the week. This weekend will be shocking. It's bank holiday. The weather will be awful. So make the absolute most of it. Right. I'm going to give it another minute or so, and then we will do a top 5 on TikTok. Maureen, good morning, and Paula, good morning over on Facebook. Have you all had a good weekend though? Let me know. Let me know what you have been up to. I've had a really good weekend, to be honest with you. I had a really good day with my mates on Saturday. We had a few beers, we had a nice barbecue in the garden, we had a few games of darts here in the office. Just what the doctor ordered. I took it pretty steady-ish. Quite calorific. I'm going to talk about that in this week's weekly weight loss vlog. I had a lot more calories than I was planning on having, but in terms of keeping it pretty, it was pretty steady, mild, chilled. Wasn't really hungover yesterday, which is definitely a bonus. But we're still struggling a little bit to control the old calories. But it is what it is. I've had a little bit of a blowout, and then I've got my focus, which I did mention in the newsletter yesterday, if you read the newsletter. But again, I'll talk about that in a little bit. Right, let's do a top 5 this morning. I will repeat, this is a weight loss live. So if you're struggling for whatever reason, get your questions in or your comments in. I'll go through them the best I can. And if I can help you out and answer, I will. All right. Right, let's do top 5 on the old TikTok this morning. Number 1, we have got Faith. Is in at number 1. Kelly C's in at number 2. Lisa's in at number 3. Hannah's in at number 4. And Donna is in at number 5. Good morning, guys. You are my top 5 on TikTok this morning. Just let me put the stream on the YouTube channel. Is that all ticking over? Yes, it is. Lovely. Right, Callum, good morning, mate. Mama Bear, good morning. Amy's in. Morning, boss. Off work with a poorly boy treadmill today. Get those steps in. Yes, if you're at home, make the most of it if you can. Always try and turn a tougher situation into a better situation. On the same day yesterday, but staying 7 cars. Maureen, I have seen your message. I've not read it properly. I will read it and I will respond to you later on. I hope you're okay though. Carol, good morning. I hope your boy gets better sooner rather than later, maybe. Out getting the early steps in could go either way here. Sunny now, but a few clouds. Yeah, I was thinking that today. I don't know what to do with the old. It's giving rain today, 3 till 5. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my weekly weight loss vlog straight after this live. Get stuck in. Then I'm going to fly to the gym. Then I'm going to go to Aldi shopping, and I'm going to do another shopping haul video. I'm not going to take my camera into Aldi, but I'm going to go shopping this morning. A little bit of the fridge is a bit dead. So I need to get a few bits and pieces. So I'm going to go and have a mooch around Aldi. And I think I'll do a little shopping haul video when I get home for YouTube. And then I think I'll get there. I'm going to try and tick a lot of bits off this morning, then try and get the dogs out, have lunch, and then get the dogs straight out just after dinner. Before, if it does stay, it's only given 30% chance of rain. I just can't be bothered with the dogs getting wet. So we'll get out and then we can chill for the afternoon. Then get them out. It's meant to be nice this evening, so we'll get them out again this evening. Before I come back on and do another live at 8 o'clock. Kirsty B, good morning. James in, good morning, mate. Sheila, good morning. Went out to a celebrity charity football yesterday. Oh, very good. What celebrities were you what celebrities did you see? I'm 116 kilograms now. I have lost 11 kg. Brilliant. So far in 4 months. That's really, really good. I'm on 1,600 calories. What do you think? It's too low. Like, I mean, I'll be honest with you. If you were 127 calories and you've lost 11 kg in 4 months, that's decent going. But I would say, like, I don't think you're eating 1,600 calories. Should we do some maths? Early morning maths. Right, so BFG, let's have a look at. So this person was 127 kilograms when they started, right? Which is 20 stone. Pretty much bang on 20 stone, right? They've lost 11 kilograms, which is really good weight loss in 4 months. So they're averaging around about £6 a month. So £6 a month is roughly what I've been doing, which is about a 5 to 5,500 calorie deficit a week, right? And they said they've been eating 1,600 calories a day. So 1,600 times 7, that's 11,200 a week plus 5,000, right? So you're telling me that your calorie burn is 2,300 a week. It could be, right? But that would suggest you are at 20 stone, your metabolism won't be far off. So are you very sedentary? Are you very sedentary? Because I'll be honest with you, if you're like, when I say very sedentary, you're probably averaging 2,000 to 3,000 steps a day. Now, if you come back to me now and go, no, I'm doing 8,000 steps a day, then you're not eating 1,600 calories a day. Which is, so you're probably not over restricting yourself, because for me personally, that's not a crazy amount of weight till it's good. It's not far off being healthy and sustainable, but thinking you're eating a very low amount or a reasonably low amount of calories and you're not can just play on the mind a little bit. All right. So it's always about maths. Callum Best, George Best's son, and EastEnders people. All right, Callum Best and EastEnders people. Very, very good. Hope you had a great day, Kelly C. Hope you enjoyed that. Lisa's in. Good morning. Have I missed anything? So, yeah, we have to be a little bit realistic. Yeah, I have tumors on my spine. Okay, so I'm limited on steps. I walk every day, but yes, you're right. My steps. So, what are your average steps, BFG? Where you're at with your step count? Because to be honest with you, if you do come to me and go, yeah, I'm doing 2,000 to 3,000, 4,000 steps a day, right? Then you actually might be eating 1,600 to lose that. The issue with that is it is restrictive. It's a low amount of calories. And we've got to ask ourselves, how long are you going to be able to stick to that low amount of calories before it becomes unsustainable? It's great you've lost 11 kilograms in a few months. That's good progress. And like I say, if someone's 20 stone and they're doing 10,000 steps a day, eating 2,200 calories a day and losing that amount, I've lost, in terms of actual body fat, I'm about 23 pounds down since the beginning of the year. So we're coming up about 4.5 months, I've lost 23 pounds. I've actually lost about 30 pounds, but a chunk of that was the whoosh effect after Christmas. I'm about 23, 24 pounds down. And if we divide that, that is what? So I'm averaging at the moment, divide that by 4.5. So I've been averaging about 5.3 pounds a month. Now, considering also in that time, I've had a week all-inclusive holiday, and I've also had 2 surplus weeks at that time because I went to Spain a couple of weeks ago. I'm more than happy with that weight loss. I'm happy with it. But I do a lot of movement. So I've been eating about 2,500, 2,600 calories a day. So it's not restrictive. I'm not sat here now 4.5, 5 months in going, oh God, when's this diet going to end? Oh no, I've not, I'm really missing pizza, or I'm really missing this, or I'm really missing that. So it's just about, healthy, sustainable. Oh, 30 to 40 minutes a day. I don't track steps, but not sure what that would be in steps. Okay. So it all depends a little bit on how fast you walk. But I would say most people that are doing, you've said 30 to 40, let's go 35. I would say on average, you're doing from walking about 3,500 steps. You're also then going to be pottering about. So yeah, you are quite sedentary. I would say you're probably on about 4,000 to 5,000 steps a day on average. That is just a guesstimate. 4.5 to 5,000 steps a day on average. So, yeah, you are eating 1,600. What we don't want you to do is crash and burn. That is the thing. So, if you actually increased your calories to about 1,850 a day, right? Now that might not sound like a lot. It's only 250 a day. What's the difference? That don't think of it as daily. Think of it as weekly. That's an extra 1,750 calories a week. Now, what that's going to do is that's going to decrease your weight loss to around £1 a week. So rather than averaging £6 a month, you're going to be doing about £4 a month, which is still great progress. It really, really is. But having that extra 250 a day is just going to give you a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more freedom, and it's just going to keep things a bit more sustainable. That's my only look. If you want to carry on doing what you're doing, that's absolutely fine. But that would be, I see way too many people coming out the traps on their weight loss journey, going at it, doing things a bit too restrictive. And when we do things restrictive, we can stick to it for a short period of time. For some people, it's a couple of weeks. For some people, it's a few months, right? But in the grand scheme of things, when you might have 6, 7, 8 stone that you want to lose, we need to be sticking to things for a year or two, right? And a lot of people go, "What? I need to be on a diet for a year or two." Like, yeah, that's kind of. I nearly said that. Unfortunately, it's not unfortunate because if you're losing weight in the right way, where you're eating when you're in a deficit, you're eating healthy, sustainable amounts of calories. You're allowing yourself weight loss breaks. Like I've already had 2 weight loss breaks this year. We're only 4.5 months in. I've had a week all inclusive, and I've had a trip to Spain. I'm going away again in 5 weeks, and that's my new focus. So, if you do it right, I'm not sat here going, "Oh, I'm on a weight loss journey, so I can't enjoy a few beers with the boys because I did that on Saturday." Right? I'm on a weight loss journey. I can't go on holiday. I've already had 2 holidays this year. Right? One's a mate's birthday where we've gone for a trip away, and then one was just me and mates going for a little bit of holiday. So, if you are losing weight in the right way, you won't really mind how long it takes because it won't feel like a diet. That's the key, I feel you might be a little dismissive when people tell you calories are weight. There's always a bit of nuance. I haven't lost anything since April the 28th. I actually gained. I'm eating the right calories. I think I'm dismissive. What gives you that? Why would you say that, Paul? Or what do you mean by dismissive? I want people to have weight loss success. So it's not about being dismissive. So when people come on here and tell me their calories and their weight, if they're not going to do it in a way that surely as a weight loss coach, it's my job as a weight loss coach to give people the best advice possible. Because I could say to BFG there, absolutely fantastic, right? Brilliant, which I did. I said, great weight loss, this, that, and the other. Carry on. And then in 2 months' time, she comes back on my live and she's like, yeah, I'm not losing weight anymore. It's my job as a coach to break things down and coach. I will never, ever. I don't know what you mean by be dismissive. I wouldn't mind you going in a little bit. What you think, just explain it a little bit further for me on what you're saying there. Because if I feel I need to change my coaching style, I will do. But I don't know what you mean by dismissive. I haven't lost anything since April the 28th. Okay. And so we have to understand that weight loss isn't a linear process, right? We want it to be a linear process. Fat loss is a linear process. If you're in a 3,500 calorie deficit every week, you will lose a pound of body fat every week. Why weight loss isn't a linear process? Because we have to understand that other things play a part on the scales, right? So, things like water weight, food weight, water retention. And over a couple of weeks, unfortunately, you might be in a calorie deficit and losing body fat. So you said there, I haven't lost anything. You've not lost any weight. That doesn't mean, Paul, you've not lost any body fat. If you've been in a calorie deficit, you will have lost body fat. And that will catch up. So we can get through our journey what we call mini whoosh effect. So let's say week 1, the scales don't show a loss. Not that I recommend you weigh weekly anyway, but let's say week 1, the scales don't show a loss, right? But you've been in a calorie deficit, right? Let's say week 2, the scales don't show a loss, but you've been in a calorie deficit, right? Let's say week 3, the scales don't show a lot, but you've been in a calorie deficit. I totally understand that can get quite frustrating, but in such a short period of time, right, other things can play a part. And 2 to 3 weeks is a short period of time, right? We also all need to take into account where people's positions are at the moment, where people's weight is at the moment, the lighter you are. I had this with quite a few clients checking in this week. I work with a variety of clients. I work with clients that are morbidly obese, that are overweight. I work with clients that really don't have a weight issue, but for whatever reason, they just want to trim up a little. They just want to lose a few pounds. That might be a mentality thing, or they've always been a certain weight, and just for whatever reason, they've gained a few pounds over the last year or two. You say it's all about the numbers, that you can work out by numbers only what people are doing or not doing. The numbers don't always show the whole story. The numbers don't always show the whole story, but the numbers show like I'm an accountant by trade, and fat loss, weight loss is down to numbers. It is down to numbers. Now, if you can't accept that, that is then being dismissive, because that is what it's down to. We measure the energy going into our body through calories. We measure the energy going out of our body through calories. That is a number. This is a pound of body fat that contains 3,500 calories. If you are in a 3,500 calorie deficit, you lose one of these. Now, like I said, weight loss isn't necessarily linear on the scales, because if you lose one of these, but lose a pound of body fat, gain a pound of water, the scales will show a maintain, right? Because I've lost one of these, but I've gained one of these. The scales don't tell us, right? The scales don't tell us that. Now, over time, like that lady that's just come on and said they've lost 11 kilograms. I think it was that. I'm not sure, actually. I'm not like that person that's come on and said they've lost 11 kilograms in 4 months. When we go further in time, it's all down to numbers. Really, really simple. Really, really simple. It is all about thermodynamics. That is what fat loss is about. Thermodynamics. Energy in versus energy out. Short periods of time, like I say, weight loss isn't linear. You lose a pound of body fat, you gain a pound of body water, you're going to maintain on the scales. Someone comes to me in 4 months and said, I've lost 10 pounds. It's all about numbers. Over that time, the weight loss wouldn't have been linear. Their graph, because anyone that's on my one-to-one plan, they have a graph, they have a progress sheet that I fill in, and we can see that, right? If you want to understand, it was my check-in on Friday, and I'm going to put my check-in on this week's weekly weight loss vlog on YouTube, and I'll show my graph. And you will see that from the beginning of January up until my check-in, I've lost 24 pounds. But you won't just see a linear, you won't just see a straight down. You'll see a graph that does that a little bit. Why? Because weight loss isn't linear. But over time, it's all about numbers. It is all about numbers. And if someone comes to me, if someone says, I've been on this journey for 3 months and I've not lost anything, you've not been in a calorie deficit. And if they then say to me, no, I have, well, they're lying to themselves. It's then my job to delve in. Now, if someone comes to me and says, I've not lost any weight for 2 weeks, right? You've not lost any weight for 2 weeks. We don't know you've not lost any body fat for 2 weeks. And that's why I always say, if you're not quite getting the results you want on the scales, we don't really delve in until 4 weeks or more. So if you go 4 weeks or more and the scales haven't moved, right, we're getting into a longer period of time there where daily fluctuations, weekly fluctuations, little things that can happen in the body start to become irrelevant, because, yeah, you might have gained a couple of pounds of water retention, lost a couple of pounds. Over 4 to 6 weeks, if you're in a 3,500 calorie deficit, right? And not everyone's in a 3,500 calorie deficit. Some of my clients, again, if they are limited with mobility, they don't have a lot of weight to lose, the deficit's got to be smaller for it to be healthy and sustainable. So, but it is all about numbers over longer periods of time. Short periods of time, yeah, there's different things that can make the scales fluctuate, which I talk about all the time. If anyone's struggling with the scales, episode 9 of my podcast is called Turn the Sad Step into the Happy Step. And I totally explain how the scales work, short periods of time, long periods of time. And if you watch that, we've then got to learn to accept it But over longer periods of times, the numbers do show the whole story. Dead simple. Like, I lost 250 pounds in 3 years and 9 months. That means I was in a 900,000 calorie deficit. Right? I nearly consumed 1,000,000 calories. Oh, that might be my first year. No, that was my total weight loss. Yeah. I was in a 900,000 calorie deficit over 3 years, 9 months. Right? That's the numbers. If I've lost 250 pounds of body fat, 250 of those, right? 250 times 3,500, I've nearly consumed 1,000,000 calories less. Right? Anyone can come on here, and if you go for, let's say, 3 months or more, right? And you tell me how much weight you've lost in 3 months, I'll tell you the calories you've been eating, right? Now, whether your app matches up with that, I don't know, right? And if it doesn't match up with that, that's when we can delve in. I have this all the time with my one-to-one clients, you know? My one-to-one clients they might lose 20 pounds over 3 months, right? And I want them to lose a stone. So they've overachieved. That then makes me a little bit worried. I'm like, I've given you this amount of calories. Your steps haven't increased. You've lost 20 pounds. We have had a little whoosh at the beginning, 4 or 5 pounds. But that still tells me, I've given you 2,000 calories a day. You're eating about 1,800. It's not crazily low. So I'm not going to be too panicky that you're going to crash and burn or you're going to hit that brick wall. But it is something we need to be aware of. Yeah. It's changed my life losing 11 kilograms and helped my mobility. Lost a lot of inches. Absolutely. I think so many people, 11 kilograms is like 25 pounds. It's nearly 2 stone in weight, right? And I don't care whether you start off at 30 stone or heavier than that even, 25, 20 stone like this person started off. To lose, I mean, this person here has lost nearly 10% of their body weight. That's a lot of pressure going off the body. That is a lot of weight. And I think sometimes we don't appreciate, we always go, oh, I've only lost a couple of pounds. I'm like, 2 pounds is pretty heavy. Like, it genuinely is. This is a pound of body fat. To lose, this person here in 4 months has lost 25 of these. If you stack up 25 of these, that's a lot of mass and it's a lot of weight. And it is, and especially, I think you said you've got issues with your spine. Absolutely, spine and the knees, the back and the knees take the brunt force, especially if you're overweight. Right? They take a battering. They genuinely do take a battering. So yeah, and it will change. And if you carry on with the journey, and this is why I sort of step in when someone comes on and mentions that, because I don't want this person to crash and burn. I don't want this person to hit their brick wall. I want every single person to have long-term success on this journey. Because if you think now how much your mobility is improved and how much you've improved from losing 11 kilos, imagine where you're going to be when you lose another 11 and then another 11, right? It's just going to improve your life. And I know that more than anyone. At 37 stone, I could hardly move, right? I was struggling days to get out of bed. I could just about drag myself to the toilet. That was it. So I totally get it. I totally get it. 100%, Right, let me scan up and see what I've missed. I've lost 70 pounds. You have, James, done absolutely superb. Really, really good, mate. Hi, mate. How was your last trip to Armet? I have not been to Armet for, I reckon, I don't think I went last. I might have gone once last year. I went to a friend's house. I've not been for ages. I need to get back there because it is one of the best kebabs in the area. It's so good. Right, let me scan up, see if I've missed anything. My weight moving slowly now. Not really, James. You just had your check-in. James, you always go through phases where you get a little bit hard on yourself, and I totally get it. We are like that. We are like that. James, in the last 6 weeks, mate, you've lost 10 pounds. Like, again, you can't focus too much on short-term individual results. So yeah, James on his last check-in lost a couple of pounds. That's not slow weight loss at all. But yeah, if we go back and look at 10 weeks, you've lost like 10 pounds, mate. That's like You know, that's decent. Yeah, it's £1 a week on average, and you've lost a lot of weight, mate. So it was always going to get a little bit slower, but you're doing great. You're doing absolutely great. You know, but I wouldn't say it's slow. I think your weight loss now is healthy and sustainable. That's where we're at. You know, just Rach. Good morning, Rach. Hope you're good. Right, let me scan up. Karen G's in. Good morning. That's what's made it possible for me to work with you for 3 years in August. Absolutely fame. Faye's just absolutely smashing it at the moment. Doing absolutely amazing. Thank you. I know it's not a great weight loss, but I think it's great weight loss. It is great weight loss. This is it. We're too hard on ourselves. To lose 11 kilos in 3-4 months is amazing weight loss. What I'm trying to say is it could be a little bit quick, right? Because like I say, when we're over restrictive with things, yeah, we can hit a brick wall. I'm saying it's too good, is what I'm saying with that, you know. Love your content, Neil. Interested in your view on weighing once every 2 weeks. I weigh every day. I feel I get a more reliable view of progress. Once every 2 weeks could mask progress. Okay. I get my clients to weigh once every 2 weeks. Why? It wouldn't mask progress. The further we go from weighing, right, apart, the more accurate we will see fat loss. When you weigh yourself every day, David, you don't see fat loss, you see fluctuations on the scale. Basically, what I weigh on Tuesday compared to Monday, I'm just seeing the difference between what I eat and drink and what I number one and number two out when I go to the toilet. That's it. You're not seeing fat loss. Fat loss is a much slower thing than daily fluctuation. So if you're weighing yourself daily and you lose a pound, you've lost a pound in weight out of your average food weight, water retention. In terms of body fat, if you're in a 500 calorie deficit a day, right, that is, and you lose a pound on the scales, the most that could be is 0.14 of a pound of body fat. You know, you lose one of those a week, divide that by 7, it's 0.14. Right? So weighing daily, you are seeing daily fluctuations in your weight. You're never really going to be seeing fat loss, right? You might get a little bit of a fat loss reading every week, but every 2 weeks, you know, you should hopefully, if you're being consistent, on average, see a couple of these go, and that's registering fat loss. Now, a lot of different coaches have a lot of different views about weighing, and a lot of coaches say weigh daily over a week, add all those numbers up, divide that by 7, and that gives you your average weight for the week, right? And in theory, that is correct, right? So you'll see the daily fluctuations, but then you take an average and that's your weight. And then you take your following average and then your following average and so on and so forth. And you'll see some changes. What a lot of coaches don't understand is people's emotional attachment to the scales and how detrimental that can be to mental health, right? So what I mean by that is a lot of people they really struggle to grasp how the scales work. So when the scales go up, people just go, I'm fatter. When the scales go down, I'm thinner, right? And it doesn't work like that. Daily increase on the scales is down to, for whatever reason, you've took a bit more food on, you took a bit more water on, it's just sat in your system, you've not quite been to the toilet as much as you would do normally, right? It's nothing to do with getting fatter or thinner. But a lot of people struggle with that. And I've seen a lot of coaches on here, and coaches that I actually respect, that I think are decent, on social media, and they say, you know, well, if you're emotionally attached to the scales, stop being emotionally attached to the scales. As if emotional attack, you can't turn off emotional attachment. I always use the analogy of, you know, people fall in love with other people and they're idiots. Yeah. You know, they're just idiots. And all your friends are like, what are you doing with them? They're horrible. They're things. But for whatever reason, you can't explain it. You can't justify it. You just love them. Right? That's emotional attachment. And you can't turn it off. And you might be like, it's a set of scales. I'm not saying you're in love with a set of scales, but people have an addiction to weighing, right? And they have this emotional attachment to the scales. How do you improve an abusive relationship? Because that's what a lot of us have. I've had an abusive relationship with the scales for a lot of my life, right? And you guys out there will admit the same. How do you, you step away from that relationship, right? You've got to step away from it. You've got to move out. You've got to get away from it. Now, over time, right, each person in the relationship, they might realize what they're missing. They might work through their issues. One of them might improve. One of them might become a bit more this, that, and that. And eventually that relationship might rekindle and it moves forward in a much more positive fashion. But you've got to step away. And that's my philosophy around the scales. Now, if you are emotionally attached to the scales, and even though you're stood there and you get on the scales and they've gone up a pound, and you know that you have me in the back of your head going, it's just water weight, it's just food weight, but you can't get it out of your mind. I am fatter today. You need to step away from them. Now, we do need to weigh ourselves on a weight loss journey. Right? We do. Right? And it is because it does track progress and it is about numbers, right? Certainly over time. So we need to see what is going on. But for me, and this is only relevant if you're being consistent, right? If you're being inconsistent with your journey, you weigh 3 times, it doesn't really matter. But if you are being consistent on your journey, more often than not, if you weigh once every 2 weeks, you will see a positive result, or what we would class as a positive. Look, I don't class, I always try and put a positive spin on everything. I had someone check in this morning. They said, oh, sorry, I forgot to send it over the weekend. And they've maintained. And I'm like, and maintain for me is never a bad result. If you've got a weight issue, it's because you can't control your calories. If you maintained for the next 6 months, you're controlling your calories. You might not be quite pushing yourself into that calorie deficit for weight loss, but you're not gaining, which is what you've been doing, which is why you're here now. Right? So we've got to, we're like, oh, I've maintained. There's nothing wrong with the maintain. Like I say, short term, there's other things that can play a part, right? But the further you go away from weighing and you're consistent on this journey, the more chance of what you would class as a positive, which people just want to see losses. They want to see a loss every time they get on the scales. If you're consistent with your journey and you weigh once every 2 months, you'll see a loss every time you get on the scales. Every time, right? Yes, you might have daily fluctuations, but over 2 months, most people can lose 10 pounds. It's very rare if it's time of the month you gain 10 pounds of water retention as a female. It's very rare that if you end up the day before you get on the scales, you're going to gain 10 pounds because you've had a bit more salt or you've had a takeaway, right? You will see a positive result. Like I say, this is just my own personal opinion. I've created an eating disorder myself through weighing daily in 2016. And yeah, I just find that when my clients step away from the scales and just get on, they're consistent with their journey, they get on once every 2 weeks, they get on the scales on a day that is the most accurate for our weight loss, which is a Friday morning, right? Don't weigh on a Monday, don't weigh on a Tuesday, Friday. Thursday's all right. Thursday's not bad. Friday's about as good as you get. Or Saturday, right? Why? Because we tend to always have a few more at a weekend, or even if we try and do it within calories, we're at the weekend we might end up having a few more like unhealthier foods, or we might have a takeaway and fit it into our calories, which is more salt. That's just going to cause some excess water retention, even if you've done it within your calories on a Monday morning, right? But when we get back to our normal weekly routine, everything sort of sorts itself out by the time you get to a Friday, if that makes sense. So if you're not emotionally attached to the scales, if they don't affect you emotionally, if you get on the scales and they go up a pound and you're like, yeah, I'm just a bit of extra water weight, it's all good. Or you get on the scales and they drop 3 pounds and you're like, right, I must have gone to the toilet a bit more yesterday, right? Then weigh yourself every single day if you want to. Unfortunately, the majority of people I work with have an emotional attachment, and I need to sort that issue out. And that's something I really work with my one-to-one clients. Once that emotional attachment is broken, I've got a client, Lisa. She might be on now. She won't mind me talking about this, and she was a bit hard on herself last week, and she got on the scales last Monday, and she was really down about it. Blah blah blah. We've worked together for a long period of time. And she literally said to me, I know. And I was quite not blunt with her in a message, but I was very direct. Sometimes I have to be, right? And eventually we got to a point where she was like, no. And then she checked in this week and she's done great. Absolutely great. And she was like, I get it. And then she said to me, I've had X amount of years of abuse with weight loss. And I said, I 100% agree. And this is where a lot of people that don't have empathy around weight issues will struggle with coaching. Because to say to someone that's jumped on scales for the last 20, 30 years, seen these daily fluctuations, grafted their arse off for a week and then seen a pound gain and they're just in pieces over it. Like I say, you can't turn off emotional attachment. So we need to treat something that's been abusive to us in a way where we can mentally get a better relationship. Does that make sense? Might sound really deep, and you might be like, "That's no way." Yeah, unless you've ever had it, you will struggle to understand it. The scales are some of the worst things in the world. When they're doing what they want, when they're doing what you want them to do, they're amazing, aren't they? When they're not doing what they want you to do, they're flipping hard, all right? But we need to understand exactly how they work. Does that kind of make sense? So, I'll have clients now that I've worked with for a year, 2 years, and they could weigh themselves every single day now, not get emotionally attached, fully understand, fully justify in their head why the scales are fluctuating, and just look at certain points in time, like their fortnightly check-ins, to monitor their results, right? And that's where everyone needs to get to. I've lost 3 pounds in 4 weeks. I was a little disappointed, but after talking in the community page, I realised it's going okay. But Jackie, at the end of the day, it's one of them. For me personally, this is why I always try and put my clients in what I call a calorie deficit sweet spot. A calorie deficit sweet spot is having a certain amount of calories where you're not feeling overly restricted. You've got some flexibility, freedom with your food. You find that everything, it's a sustainable amount of calories, but you're also getting decent results on the scales because we do need to see those results to stay. We need the effort that you're putting in needs to be worth what you're getting out, and that's true for anything. You need to be, if you're absolutely grafting your bum off at work, 10, 12 hours a day, and it gets to the point where it's just not worth it. Financially, it gets really demoralizing, right? When you're working your bum off and there's some reward at the end of it, and it doesn't just need to be financial reward, it can just be, I've had a few people come on here now saying, I'm doing really well with you, I really enjoy it, and that's what makes it worthwhile for me as a coach. It makes it worth the hours that I put in. But at the end of the day, if the scales, 3 pounds in 4 weeks is decent. It is decent. And again, we always need to take into account our current weight, our current movement. If you are, for whatever reason, if your mobility is compromised, that is going to compromise your calorie burn. That is going to make it trickier to see consistent results. You'll still get results over time, but to see loss after loss, again, there's lots of different things that play a part, and sometimes we need to look at it in the bigger picture. How many 4 weeks are there in a year? Right, so let's go 52, 13. I don't even need to add it up, right? So there's 52 weeks a year. So in 4 weeks, there's 13 4 weeks, right? If you lost 3 pounds 13 times over a year, right, you would be 42 pounds down. Have I worked that out right? No, be 39 pounds down. Am I right? So yeah, there's a reason why I am an accountant by trade, but I am a retired accountant, and there's a reason for that. Right. So if you lost 33 pounds 13 times, you'll be 39 pounds down at the end of the year. Right? That's nearly 3 stone. Again, I don't care who you are, right? If you're currently 20 stone, right? And you were 3 stone down this time next year, and then 3 stone down the year after that, you'd be 14 stone in 2 years. Like, I don't care. Anyone would be like, would you love to be 14 stone in 2 years? Yeah. Would you love to be 14 stone in 2 years, but not feel like you've had to sacrifice too much to lose that weight? So you still enjoy Christmas, you still enjoy your birthday, you still enjoy a family holiday once or twice a year, you still enjoy your best mate's wedding, but you'll be 14 stone into. I've not been 14 stone for 25 years, Neil. Right, well, let's get at it then. But we do have to have that patience, right? If weight loss is what we might class as being a little bit slower, you know. Now, I love your content. What you say is so relatable to real life situations. Thank you for the time you take to make this content, Paul. That's very kind of you to say. Thank you for the kind words. Always means a lot. Right, let me have a scan through TikTok, see what's going on. I can't seem to lose any weight. It just stays the same. Okay. Jules, do you mean you can't seem to consistently lose any weight? Or are you saying, like, I've been on a diet for 3 months and the scales are, they've never dropped, they've never gone up. I started at 200 pounds and I'm currently 200 pounds, or whatever you might weigh, right? Again, it's all about consistency. That's what, no one can't lose weight, right? Every single person in the world can lose body fat, right? You know, and we need to be honest with ourselves. I always say this, you know, what a lot of people can't do is be consistent. A lot of people can't be consistent, and that could be down to approach, fad dieting, trying to do crazy fad diets like alternate day fasting, you know, not eating carbs. Really, really hard. Really, really hard to stick to long term, right? Even doing something like Slimming World or Weight Watchers is hard work. It could be down to a mentality thing, self-sabotage, emotional eating, you know. For most people, it's down to a mix of both. It's down to approach and what's going on in here. The honest truth is, Jules, if and I'm not going to do this because it'd be rather weird and I'd end up in jail, but if I locked you in a room, right, for 3 months, and I controlled your calorie intake, so you got 3 600-calorie meals, right? Basically like a weight loss jail camp, right? And don't get me wrong, this isn't how we should be losing weight. But if I was like, you get 3 600-calorie meals a day, and you're going to do, if you can physically do it, we're going to do 10,000 steps a day, right? We're going to do 5,000 in the morning, 5,000 late afternoon, and you're going to get a 600-calorie breakfast, 600-calorie lunch, 600-calorie tea. In 3 months' time, would you have lost weight? Yeah. Why? Because you're in such a controlled environment. What a lot of people struggle with, life isn't a controlled environment. There's no outside influence that keeps us in control. It's down to us to control our calorie intake, right? You go to some sort of boot camp where the only food you have access to is what they feed you, and they also drive you on to do your movement, right? You're going to get the results. But that's not life. The reality of life is I've personally got to make the decision to eat those 3 600-calorie meals a day and not eat anything else. And I'm not saying you have to eat like that. I'm just trying to give you the example. I've personally got to motivate myself to do a 5,000 step walk in the morning and a 5,000 step walk in the afternoon, right? It's like it's a self-determination. It's a self-motivation thing. And for lots of different reasons, like I say, it could be approach, it could be mentality. We don't have the ability to drive that consistency ourselves. But we need to sort it out. If you want to have a successful weight loss journey, you need to learn how to drive that, right? And the first thing we start off with is the approach. is the approach to weight loss, you know. I'm also a full-time electric wheelchair user. Okay, so you're non-weight bearing. So again, your mobility issues means your calorie burn, other than your metabolism, is going to be very, very low, right? So that does make it harder. You know, it really does make it. It's not that it makes weight loss any different, but it does mean you, your calories are going to be compromised a little bit, right? So I do have a couple of clients actually that really, really struggle with mobility. I don't think I'm working with anyone that is non-weight bearing at the moment, but I have had clients in the past that are non-weight bearing. So we would need to find a way, just for mental and physical health, we would need to put a little bit of movement in, right? Which can be done, right? It can be done if you're non-weight bearing. Yeah, again, that does mean driving yourself on to doing some exercise, basically. Obviously, everything would be seated. And what you'd also have to take into account is your weight loss is going to be a little bit slower because depending on what your current weight is, you're probably going to have to go into a slightly smaller calorie deficit. But the same thing stands. If you are consistent at sticking to it, right, you'll lose the body fat. But there's obviously going to be certain circumstances where it's going to be a bit trickier than others. Weight loss is hard for everyone. But there's always going to be certain circumstances where it's going to be a bit trickier. And certainly if you are, non-weight bearing. I mean, I'll be honest with you, at the start of my weight loss journey, for the first few months, I was very sedentary. Obviously, I was weight bearing and I could move a little bit, but not a lot, right? I was very heavy and I had a very big calorie burn from my weight. So I could still eat a good amount of calories, But can people in a wheelchair lose? Of course they can. Absolutely 100%. Like I say, I've worked with several non-weight bearing clients in the past, So I think, Jules, and again, it all depends on where you're at with how you can control your approach. Yeah, get on board, guys. If you need help with your weight loss journey, it's what I do. If anyone is struggling, if you're sat there now, I've not lost weight for a few weeks and all this, get onto my one-to-one plan, and that then allows me to delve in and help you. So it allows me to work with you a little bit closer. So my one-to-one plan is $29.99 sign up, $29.99 a month. I ask for a minimum 3 months commitment. Give me 3 months with you and let's see where we end up. TikTok profile, Facebook page, YouTube. Click on my link tree. Click on the one-to-one plan link. Come get signed up. I'll give you a healthy, sustainable plan, whatever is going on. If you are non-weight bearing like Jules, obviously, I'm not going to give you a step progression plan, but what I would do with Jules is I would have to get something in play just to try and, because just doing a little bit of exercise, I think a big issue with people that are non-weight bearing, being sat down a lot of the time, is it's obviously monotonous. It's very hard to change scenery in your mind. And we know that, like, boredom eating, if I sit down for hours and hours and hours on end, and I'm not saying Jules isn't busy, I'm not saying she doesn't work, I'm not saying she doesn't have things to occupy her, but there is other factors at play. The human body is naturally designed to be moving about, right? And that does improve physical health, it does improve mental health. And both of those things, if are quite low, makes controlling calories very, very hard. So I always say exercise is non-essential for weight loss. It isn't. Right? A decent level of everyday movement is essential. But as we've just determined there, for certain people, a decent level of everyday movement is non-essential. It isn't an option in terms of going out for a daily walk. Now, I would recommend for Jules to go out for a daily walk, but obviously in her wheelchair. So yes, that might not improve her calorie burn, but just getting out and about, getting out, seeing some scenery, seeing some fresh air is really good for this thing, right? And then we probably would have to introduce some sort of movement. We would have to introduce some sort of exercise in to try and help things, you know. So for most people it's non-essential exercise, but for certain people it is, you know. I'm on the 1-to-1 plan. He's helping me so much. Kelly, you're doing really, really good. You really, really are. You've got a lot of battles. I'm not going to go into it. You've got a lot of personal battles with different things, but you're always accountable. You're always trying, and that's great. Steroids do make it harder to lose weight. I take them too. All right. Why do steroids make it harder to lose weight? So no medication causes fat gain. The only reason we gain body fat is through overconsumption of calories, right? That's it. So if you've been put on a medication and the side effect is weight gain, the weight gain is just some water retention, right? And it really annoys me. I talk to my GP a lot about this, why there's a very poor lack of education around what weight gain means on medication. And he literally said, until I pointed out to him, he never even thought of it like that because he's not a nutritionist. I was like, it says weight gain, it doesn't say fat gain. So, you know, if you take steroids cause some, or majority of steroids cause some excess water retention in the body. If it's quite severe excess water retention, you'll also get prescribed a diuretic to help you, like water tablets, so you'll weed that water retention out, right? There's no medication in the world that's calorific enough to cause fat gain. Now, there are certain medications that might increase appetite, right? So, and certain steroids do increase appetite, but that's a domino effect, right? If it increases appetite, that could increase your calorie intake. Obviously, if your calorie intake puts you into a calorie surplus, you will gain body fat. So if anyone's on a medication out there and that medication might increase your appetite, it is then imperative that you have a high protein, high fiber diet to help suppress your appetite the best you can. Yeah. So again, lots of things we can put into place to help people, you know, with their weight loss journey, whatever is going on. But we do need to accept that there's no medication that causes us to get fat. Like I say, indirectly, if you're on a medication that can increase but weight gain on a medication means you will gain some water retention. And on average, it's 1 to 5 pounds, right? So if you were on a medication 12 months ago, the side effect was weight gain and you're now a stone heavier, it's because you've just overeaten calories. And if the side effect of that medication isn't an appetite increase, there's no reason for you to overeat calories. But a lot of people, I'm on a medication now that causes weight gain. There's absolutely no point in trying to lose weight. I'll just do what I want. And it's like, again, a domino effect. Yeah. Yes, it does increase appetite and increase blood sugar levels. Increasing blood sugar levels do not cause weight gain, right? Again, a lot of misconceptions around blood sugars. Now, if you're increasing your blood sugar levels to a point where your blood sugars are crashing, that can increase appetite again. But again, high protein, high fiber diet will help you to control your blood sugars. There's a lot of misinformation around blood sugars, and it's generally down to like, we've got a lot of carnivore dieters or keto dieters. To push their regime, they have to make out that carbs are the enemy. You know, a lot of keto carnivore dieters are telling people things like seed oils are really bad for us. They're not. They're actually really good for us. Omega-6 fatty acids, great for your heart. Why would a carnivore dieter try to convince us that healthy fats are unhealthy and unhealthy fats are healthy? You can't sell a carnivore diet plan unless you convince people saturated fats are healthy, because a carnivore diet is a diet high in saturated fat, right? So eat a carnivore diet, eat loads of protein, eat this, eat that, eat the other. You will have a heart attack in 20 years' time by doing it, but you will control your calories better because of the amount of protein you're eating, and eating steak and eggs isn't that appetizing after a period of time. So you will eat a bit less. It's not going to sell it, is it? You know, you've got to like switch things. You've got to convince people things that aren't true are true, and it should be regulated. It's absolutely terrible. But yeah, but again, blood sugar levels, it doesn't, if someone's struggling with blood sugar levels, then you'd say, right, well, that means every type 1 diabetic could be obese, and they're not. Right? Why? Because they learn to control things. Yeah, but even if they didn't learn to control things, your blood sugars don't make a difference. Like I say, if you're raising your blood sugars, if you're eating in a certain way that's spiking your blood sugars, and then causing them to crash, that can increase hunger in the body, right? Also, if you, like I say, if you're eating a diet that is doing that as well, yeah, that can increase appetite a little bit. Like I say, high protein, high fiber diet, it'll sort all that out for you. Yeah. Hi Neil, would a lot of meat not cause inflammation too? No, there seems to be this massive thing about inflammation at the moment. Like this causes, all these carnivore diets, seed oils cause inflammation. And someone else saying sugar cut. Look, the only thing that causes inflammation in the body is an overall unhealthy diet and lifestyle. That's it, right? You can eat, if anyone eats anything within the recommended boundaries and within their calories, nothing will cause you any health issues, right? So, a lot of people demonize sugar. Now, sugar is not bad for us. It is bad for us if we overconsume it, right? Saturated fat isn't bad for us. It is bad for us if we overconsume it, right? If you eat 20, maybe up to 30 grams of saturated fat a day, long term, that's not really going to cause you many issues. If you eat day in, day out, 60, 70, 80 grams of saturated fat a day, that is going to cause you certainly long term, you're going to have some health issues. All right. Free sugars, as we call them. Yeah. Which is like your castor sugar, your granulated sugar. Right. It is recommended that on average, adults should about 45, 50 grams a day. Sugar's 90 grams a day, but that includes total sugars, that includes your lactose, that includes your fructose. If you ate 40 to 50 grams of sugar a day in, day out, teaspoon in your brew, whatever, your Muller Lite yogurt that might have a little bit of sugar added to it or whatever. If you eat 40 to 50 grams of sugar, it's not going to cause you any long-term issues whatsoever. Problem is, a lot of people eat way more than that. Right? There are certain foods that are really easy to overconsume. I always say this: if you drink enough water a day, it will become toxic to the human body. It's very hard to drink enough water where this will become toxic to the human body. It's very easy to consume enough saturated fat where it would become toxic to it. It would, be detrimental to health. And a lot of these things are over time. So it's all about balance, really. Yeah. Is 2,000 calories with 180 grams of protein all right? 26 years old, 120 grams, trying to train 6 days a week. That's not like, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't give macros out. I'm a weight loss coach. I'm not like, I don't know if you're asking that in terms of you want to lose weight or you want to, like, you're bodybuilding or something. That's not, don't get me wrong, I understand it, but it's not really something I talk about that much. Right, let me scan down and see what I am missing. I was fluctuating between 72 and 73 for a month. Now finally 71.6 the last 2 days. Yeah, so there you go. Ladies come on here and said she was fluctuating between 72 and 73. So basically, but now she's just dropped to 71.6. And that's what I mean. Short term for me is 4 weeks. So if any of you guys there are maintaining, so like you just hop, lose a bit, gain a bit, lose a bit, gain a bit over a few weeks, you can't look into it too much, right? Because like I say, there's over short term, there's a lot of things in play: water weight, food weight, water retention, so on and so forth. If you have maintained for 4 weeks or more, right, so you don't see that drop, so like, yeah, you're sat there now, what are we on? It's mid-May, and you're the same weight now as you were beginning of April, then you've not been in a calorie. You might have lost the odd week, you might have gained the following week. It's about where are you at over time, right? And if you're like, yeah, I was 200 pounds at the beginning of April, I weighed on Friday, I'm 200 pounds now, irrelevant of what's happened in between those times, your average over the last 6, 7, you've been in a calorie maintenance. So we need to ask why. Why have you slipped into a calorie maintenance? On average, and you might be like, well, I was really good week 1, like first week of April, smashed it, lost a bit. Right, week 2, I had a stag do or a hen do. So right, okay. Next week, I was absolutely fine. Then Easter come, long weekend, on the booze, we were away, we went camping, this, that, and the other, eating. Right, so 3 out of the last 6 weeks, you may have been in a calorie deficit. 3 out of the last 6 weeks, you may have been in a calorie surplus for whatever reason, on an average. So we just need to improve your consistency, right? So rather than week in a deficit, week in a surplus, week in a deficit, week in a surplus, right? We just need to improve your consistency to give you some consistent results. So short term, 1 to 4 weeks, I never delve in, right? So if I have a client that checks in and it's a maintain, the first thing I look at is what was the previous result. Oh, they lost 3 pounds last time. Right, that's fine. Client checks in, maintain. What's the previous result? Maintain. Right, so we've had 2 maintains in a row here. Have things slipped a little bit? I'll then go through previous check-ins, go through this check-in. What are they telling me? All right, well, the maintain's justified. Yeah, they got back on track, but they had a weekend away, or they had this, or they had that. All right, so no need to look in. If I get a client and they've maintained 2 check-ins in a row, and there's absolutely no justification, it's just been normal weeks, I've just been trying to track the calories, trying to do this, trying to do that, yeah, then I will then tell that client, look, we slipped more into a maintenance level of calories here. Let's have a little refocus. Let's have a little tighten up. Let's have a little look back over the last couple of weeks, maybe 4 weeks. What can we improve? What's gone on? What's changed a little bit? If in 2 weeks' time they maintain again, then I'll really step in. So if I see 3 maintains in a row, right, we need to nip this in the bud now. What's going on? What's happened over the last 6 weeks? Let's give me a bit of background. Why do you feel that you've slipped into maintaining? Now, if they then come back to me and go, well, I've been sticking to my calories, I will come back to them. You haven't. Don't get me wrong, 2 to 4 weeks, yeah, we can lose body fat. And then what you tend to get is, if you've not lost weight for 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks, right, and it is just down to, yeah, you've lost body fat, but then a little bit, you'll get what's called a mini whoosh, and then you'll see a drop of 4 pounds. So that lady there, she's hovered between 72 and 73. 73 has been the highest, and then suddenly she's gone to 71.6, which is £5 drop. Right, it's like that's like a mini whoosh. 73 to 71.6. It's what, 1 point, so like 3-4 pounds. It's a mini whoosh, right? So you're seeing what you should have seen over the last 4 weeks in one hit. And we do get those. Like I say, weight loss isn't linear. Fat loss is linear if you're being consistent, but because the scales don't just measure your fat, the scales measure everything, don't they? They measure what clothes you're wearing, your skin, your hair. But what they do measure internally that change is water weight, food weight, water retention, and body fat, right? Those 4 things cause the scales to change over shorter periods of time. And water weight, food weight, and water retention cause the scales to fluctuate a lot over very short periods of time. Fat loss is a medium thing. A lot of people will jump on and go, well, what about muscle as well? Muscle doesn't cause the scales to fluctuate. Muscle building and muscle loss are very, very slow processes that you'll never see day-to-day, weekly, maybe monthly. You might see an increase in muscle on the scales, maybe, Too many creators spreading misinformation to sell products. 100%. 100%. I watched the documentary last night. It's just come on Netflix about the Liver King, right? And at the end of it, he did some crocodile tears and came on and said, I'm sorry, and I did this and did that. There was absolutely zero regret or remorse or empathy in his body language. He was just doing it to try and get people. You could just tell that. He is literally, if you've never seen the Liver King, Google him. He's a guy that he basically, a marketer, a very clever salesman, right? So he basically, about 10, 15 years ago, thought, what is cheap, what do people chuck away? What is also going to get a big response if I eat it? Offal, organs, right? And don't get me wrong, offal is very nutrient dense. Liver, kidneys, heart, lung, really nutrient dense, right? And it's cheap and it's affordable for a lot of people. And he started basically going online, and he's in like really muscular, right? And he claimed it was all because he lived an ancestral lifestyle, basically living the way we did 10,000 years ago. And he dresses like a caveman, and he doesn't wear shoes. He just wears a pair of shorts all the time. And then it came out 2 years ago, and he'd been asked several times, you know, you're on performance enhancing drugs, you this, that, and there. And he'd come out several podcasts. Nope, it's all from eating liver, taking my supplements, right? You know, supplements with testicles in, and, you know, dried testicles and liver. Take my supplements, train hard. Now, don't get me wrong, you don't get a physique like he's got without, I'm not saying he doesn't train hard, but then it came out 2 years ago that he was taking $11,000 worth of growth hormone a month. That is what his performance enhancing drug bill was. $11,000. So for 10 years, 12 years, he built a business that turned over $100 million a year by convincing people, kids in gyms and all this, that, and the other, you can look like me if you buy my dried liver and testicle supplements, because that's all I do. And I eat raw liver every day, and I eat this and I eat that and the other. And he absolutely became a multi-millionaire because he sold people a fallacy. He absolutely lied to him. Now, anyone with any sort of, he's just, we said that straight, you know, it's just a load of nonsense. But a lot of people don't. They just get bought into it. There you go. And he's done this Netflix documentary. At the end of it, he was like, yeah, I did. But he said, I still live that lifestyle and I still believe. And, you know, and he said, I started on this lifestyle because my kids were dying because they had so much sickness in them and illness in them. And it's like, really? Even the guy that runs his whole marketing department come out at the end of it and went, was any of it true? No. He's literally brought his kids in, he's done this, he's done that, and yeah, it's just nonsense. But people will absolutely lie their asses off to make money. They will. And that's why I'll never be rich. Because whether you like the way I deliver my bits and pieces or not, which I hope you do, I'll never lie to you. I've never ever, like, I always said this when I first came on board. I could have literally, you know, when I first started doing my social media and I've lost 250 pounds, I've lost 250 pounds, tablets. I've got this new extract from the Amazon jungle, and literally I discovered it. You know, all these people that live in this are in the best shape of their life. They're healthy. They don't overeat food. And it's just from taking this plant extract. I managed to get hold of it. I've took it for 3 years. I've lost 250 pounds. I've now put it into tablet form. You can buy it and you'll lose the same weight. I could have done that. You can do that. You know what I mean? I've got my before and after pictures. No one knows my backstory. No one knows who I am. So I can come straight out and go, this is how I've done it. And I can Photoshop a few bits and pieces and this, that, and there. And I could have sold those tablets for, you know, 500 quid for 3 months, all your money back, all this, that nonsense. And then you might be like, well, yeah, but when they didn't work, people want the money back. Yeah, money back guarantees aren't worth anything. Why? Because it's dead simple. I would just say to that person, right, alongside take that, I recommend that you do this, and this. This is in the short print, right? If you prove to me you have followed everything that I did, you took the tablets, but on top of that, you've done this, you've done this, you've done this, you've done this, you've done this. You can document that exactly to the T, and you've not lost any weight, right? Then yeah, I'll give you your money back. Can't do it. It's impossible. How do you document it? Right? You just physically can't, you know? So, you know, you might be like, well, I'll send you my calorie counting app. I don't know, you've not edited it. Can you prove you've not edited it? Right, you'll need to write to NutriCheck and tell me what, you know, is everything, or have you adjusted it? Honestly, it's just not worth the paper they're written on. And I'd have made a fortune. I'd have been gone in a year. and I'd have had no, but unfortunately, fortunately for you, I've got a conscience. Unfortunately for me, because I'd have a lot more money in the bank. But anyway, there it is. What's your podcast called, please? It is just the Real Lost Boss podcast. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, it's on every podcast platform. The last episode, I meant to do this, I'll do it now. The last episode, which I'm going to record a new one this week, by the way. The last episode, let me just have a quick look now. I think is number 52. I think. I can't remember. I've not uploaded it. It's only on YouTube. And I realised that on Friday and I meant to upload it. Where are we up to? I think 52. Oh, 53. Is weight loss all in your head? Was that the last one I did? Yeah. That is only on YouTube. I'm going to upload it today. I'll do it now. Let me get my anchor up and I'll put it on all other podcast platforms. But yeah, it's just the Real Lost Boss podcast. If you've recently created an account, continues. Let's log me out. Let me log in. I don't know what login is. Anyway, I'll sort that out. Right, I'm going, guys. Yeah, it's just the Real Lost Boss podcast. It is on all things. I used to do Juice Plus for years ago. Yeah, loads of people have fallen for. So I've fallen for them all, Kelly. I've fallen for so many. Honestly, I've fallen for so many different, weight loss things. Oh, have I deleted it? I know I've deleted it. Anyway, right, I'm going. Guys, it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you very much for coming on. Thanks for interacting. I appreciate all the comments. Appreciate all the positive feedback and stuff like that. If I've not answered your question, please don't take it personal. I can only do so much. At least he was honest when he got caught. He wasn't honest. He's covered that in his document. He was like, literally, he wanted to lie about it. He wanted to cover it up, but it was too late. It was too real what had happened. But is what it is. It is what it is. You'll always get him. Does muscle weigh heavier than fat? No, they weigh exactly the same. A pound of muscle and a pound of fat weighs 1 pound. The difference between muscle, this is definitely the last thing I'm doing now. The difference between muscle and fat is that's a pound of muscle, that's a pound of fat. Muscle's denser. So you can weigh the same, but it'll take up the state that you'll weigh the same, but it'll take up less room in the body. Does that make sense? Anyway, I'm going. Right, I've got a lot to do. Look out today. New weekly weight loss vlog will be out this afternoon at some point. I'm also going to do a shopping vlog. That'll be out this evening. So 2 bits coming onto YouTube. I'll get that the latest podcast uploaded to Spotify today as well, so you can read that through. And I'm back tonight, you lovely people. I'll be back at 8 p.m. tonight. So have a wonderful Monday. It's a new weight loss week, new set of calories in the bank. If you want to come on board with me, if you want me to be your weight loss coach, if you are struggling, TikTok profile, Facebook page, YouTube page, click on my link tree. The first time my link tree is an inquiry form. If you just want to touch base with me before committing, fill out an inquiry form. I'll send you all the details. You can ask me any questions and then you can come on board. I can get you started a week today. I've only got one person signed up for next Monday. So if you sign up before Wednesday night, we can get you started on Monday, straight after the bank. Well, I know Monday is technically a bank holiday, but you might be having a little bit. I was in the bank holidays like 2 Saturdays, isn't it? Saturday, and then the Monday's the Sunday. So a bit of a long weekend for us all. But I can get you started on Monday, straight after the bank holiday. That's the bank holiday's done now, and we'll get you flying into summer on a good weight loss plan. So TikTok profile or Facebook page, YouTube page, click on the link tree, send over an inquiry form. If you're like, no, Neil, I've watched you for ages, I'm going to come on board. Second tab down in my link tree is just click on that, get signed up, and we will get you going in a week. Anyway, have a wonderful Monday. TikTok, I will see you at 8 p.m. tonight if you are free. And over here, exactly the same for you guys. YouTube, Facebook, we'll be back at 8 p.m. this evening.